I'm going to get right into this. I hope Blue Roads doesn't mind, but I'm stealing his format for his Sunday morning stories to tell my story about how the Ghia got to Daytona Beach, Florida for the big YouTube Garage Gang Extravaganza. Wound up leaving Kansas City about 2 p.m. and that was after a night of no sleep working on the car, getting it ready for the big long journey. And my first stop was just outside of Columbia, Missouri, and I decided I was going to take pictures of people I met along the way. Well, I met these two folks, and they were real nice. We were at a gas station where the pumps were 60 years old, and they had some kind of a vacuum leak in the line. And it took me over half an hour to fill up my car, so I got to know these people pretty well. Well, you know, I'm thinking it'd be cool to take pictures of people with my car along the way, and the next thing you know, there's a couple MU cheerleaders. I figured, you know, while we're sitting here waiting for gas to pump, we might as well take a picture. Well, they weren't nearly as interested as the other folks, but anyway, there will be more on this MU connection at the end of the story. After my long stint there at the gas station in Columbia, I hit the open road. Man, I'll tell you what, that Ghia has never driven smoother and better and more powerful in its life. So we're just having fun on the open road. My next big stop, my next big city was St. Louis, and that was really the only city that I hit during rush hour, and I was kind of on the tail end of it. But boy, I'll tell you what, I was sure happy to see the old Mississippi River there on the east end of St. Louis. All the way through Illinois, there was beautiful weather. It was a great sunset that night, good driving weather, and really didn't have anything big happen till we got to Nashville. Just outside of Nashville, and we're having our first problem. It was just a little dead spot or something in the starter. I actually put the convertible top down because I was trying to push start it, and we're gonna put that up. We're gonna take it off the jack and hopefully get the hell out of here. Good thing I brought a whole shitload of tools. I hit Atlanta about 4:30 a.m. and was really glad to get through there when it wasn't rush hour, but I'm here to tell you the traffic was really starting to pick up when I hit the east side of the city. And I decided to drive on through and hopefully make it to the next spot. But boy, I'll tell you what, I was really starting to get tired. So I decided when I got to Macon, Georgia, to stop at the only place I could see that was lit up, and that was a Church's Chicken just outside of a gas station. So I pulled over there for a little bit of sleep, slept for about an hour and a half, and then got back on the road toward Florida. The end of Atlanta signaled the end of the good weather. When I hit Florida, it was coming down cats and dogs. People were pulling off the side of the road with their flashers on because you couldn't see them. And the window seals I put in my car were just leaking like they weren't even there. Thankfully, it cleared off, and we headed through the Ocala National Forest, which was kind of the last obstacle on our way to the destination there at VW Darren's house. When I got close to Darren's, I had tears streaming down my face. I always say that I'm the happiest guy in the room when I arrive in my Volkswagen, simply because it actually made it there, and that was part of it. And the other part of it was, you know, there's a pretty sincere amount of gratitude that I have for that man, you know, building a motor that dragged me all the way across the country to see a bunch of people that I'd never met in my life before. It was just kind of an emotional moment, so I had to circle the block a couple times and shake it off, and finally pulled in the driveway. There's proof I'm here. I think there's a palm tree there. Yeah, so we made it. You know, it's kind of cool. I kind of feel like here we go. Kind of feel like I got my old buddy back. If anybody knows me, they know generally about the car. I mean, we're kind of inseparable, and I kind of feel like I've been missing a good friend there for the last couple decades, and this trip just kind of proves that we're back. The dynamic duo are back, so I'm trying to show the car there, but you know, kind of a big deal for me. I got there a couple days early, so I got to hang out with Darren's family and feed Missy the pit bull some biscuits. We also got into some trouble out in the shop with tow wrecker and Canada catalyst. Let's see, Mike from Salina, he stopped by. 265 Chevy, he was there. But yeah, we had a little fun right here. Then it was time to fire up the barbecue. Darren had about 1,000 pounds of meat that we had to smoke, and by the end of the night we damn near burned the house down. I guess bullets, beer, and barbecue may not be the best mixture ever. After a little tinkering time in the garage, it was time to head to the extravaganza, and lo and behold, all the YouTubers there, nobody was taking any video of the extravaganza. I got just a few pictures, and I guess I could show all the food that was there.
We're eating lunch at the extravaganza here. I got a request to do some video of the barbecue, the food. I think we have a good understanding of what's on the menu today. This is what's left of my plate. We got some Italian sausage. We got a little brisket here. We got some beans. Over here we got Alchemist Slayer. Sorry, I said that wrong.
Hey guys.
We got Hans's family. It's Mary and I'm sorry, what was your name? Tori, that's right. What do we got over here? What's on this plate? We got some turkey. And some chopped
ribs.
And then we got ribs.
Brisket. Turkey, chicken, and hash browns.
Hash brown casserole, right?
Yeah,
and then we got some destroyed ribs over here. And who are you again?
Kate from West Palm Beach.
There we go. And you're Hurlbutt 6805.
Hurlbutt 6805 for the first time on YouTube.
There we go. He comments on everybody's video. I know this
nobody
guy.
Nobody saw me when I came in today. Nobody recognized
That's
me.
right. That's right.
As soon as I said the name, though, a bunch of eyes went up.
Yeah, no, I know the comments. And what do we got? We got a couple ribs on that one.
Ribs, sausage.
And a sausage,
I
little
did have
Italian
a salad.
sausage.
I did eat a
Oh
salad.
yeah. And then we got Hanson 265 Chevy from the Big Easy right there.
Got some chicken, got some ribs. Man, I got a little potato salad.
So there we go. We got it all represented right here at this little table.
After we got done eating, I got the distinct pleasure of taking a bunch of people from the Garage Gang and their wives and girlfriends around in the Karmann Ghia for rides. There really wasn't much else to do, but unfortunately their tow wrecker isn't quite as good looking as some of the other people who rode in my car that day. But we had a lot of fun, and unfortunately the day ended way too soon. As all good things must come to an end, I had to leave Darren's house about 7:30 a.m. on Sunday, trying to beat a mess of storms that was stretched from Atlanta to St. Louis. The first part of my ride up through Florida was actually really neat, and actually I had a group of Maseratis drive by, and the fourth guy in line pulled up next to my car and gave me the thumbs up. The weather actually held out through Atlanta, but Atlanta was where I experienced my first little issue on the way home. I had a bolt come out of the crank pulley on the engine. That's not what it's supposed to be. So I've got my metric crescent wrench. And yeah. Let's see if we can put that back together. Wouldn't you know, that wrench was about 1/16 of an inch too small to get a good bite on that bolt. I was able to snug it up just in time to find out my starter wouldn't work. I got the first in a long line of push starts heading out, and then right into the nasty weather going up the Tennessee mountains. It started out pretty easy, then it got harder. But one of the coolest things I've seen is the rain coming off the rocks on the side of the highways up through those mountains.
Alright, we're going to have a little guest appearance on our ride home. I wasn't able to get that pulley bolt as tight as I really want it. That crescent wrench was, I mean, I could just barely jam it on that guy. And yeah, just didn't feel real comfortable with that. So I got it on good enough to drive. And we're going to stop at fellow YouTuber's garage. He offered me some help before I left on the trip and said if you need anything, just stop. And I called him up to see if I could just, you know, stop by and shake his hand, say hi, and then wound up with that problem. So I called him back and said, hey man, I'd like to come meet you at your house and use some of your tools. You know, I just don't have a wrench big enough for that bolt. It's like either a 32 or a 36 millimeter maybe. I know it's bigger than a 26 by a stretch, so I think it's like a 32. So hopefully Stan and Ryan, one Pack Rat 1, have got a wrench that size. If not, we'll wrestle it on there with the crescent wrench, all of us put together. So we'll stop and say hi to those guys. That'll be really cool.
With about 3 more hours to drive to Nashville, the sun was setting and I just enjoyed the rest of the ride.
Stan and Ryan are right in front of me. They came and picked me up at the gas station. So I'm just following them in. We're on the Pack Rat 1 set, one Pack Rat 1 set with Ryan and Stan. And they gave me a little hand here getting the pulley back on the Ghia. And they're probably going to give me another hand getting it push started because we're having some starter difficulty today. And so this will be the last time we start the car until it gets to Kansas City. We'll just leave it running.
You driving the whole way with us?
Well, yeah, I'd have to find some more friends.
They're probably up there.
You know, I thought about calling some folks in St. Louis, but I don't have their number, so I'd have to write an email and answer the email on the road and everything else. But we're gonna go inside and chit chat for a little bit. But hey, we could do that. I have to wash my hands first. Check out all the stickers, man. It's awesome to see.
Thankfully, I had some family in St. Louis that was able to give me a place to stay. I pulled in there about 4:30 in the morning, and Andrea's aunt and uncle, Wendy and Carol, were nice enough in the morning when they got up before they went to work. They gave me a push start to get me back on my way toward Kansas City. I want everybody to take a look at the hat that's on my head. Anyone from the Midwest knows about the bitter rivalry between MU and KU, and our first stop, if you remember, was in Columbia, Missouri. Our last stop's going to be in Columbia, Missouri. Now, I'll be the first one to tell you, I have a lot of friends from MU and they're good people, but there are some people who are MU fans who just absolutely cannot stand the fact that somebody might have gone to the University of Kansas. My last fuel up was in Columbia, Missouri, and there was only one other person in the gas station. He was a big old dude wearing an MU shirt, giving me the glare for having a KU hat on. I never did understand that. I left my car running, everything was good, and I had to go to the bathroom, so I hopped in the old car, put her in first gear, and pulled it up to the front of the station, thinking I'll leave it running, and the only people who know how to get it in reverse are Volkswagen people, and they're not very likely to steal my car. Well, I pull up the emergency brake, and as I let the clutch out, I realize I forgot to take it out of gear, and the car dies. I go in the shit and take care of my business. As I'm walking out, arm in arm with this guy with the MU shirt on. I gotta turn to him and ask him for help. I say, hey buddy, I don't need any money, I just need a push start for my Volkswagen, my starter's broke. And he said, man, I just don't have time to help today, I'm in a hurry. I said, well, thanks anyway. And as he turned his back on me, no sooner, he starts patting his pockets and he looks back at me. He goes, oh man, I just locked my keys in my car. He said, it looks like you could probably use some help. And I turned my back on him. And just as soon as I did that, I see some guy in a business suit staring my car down like you wouldn't believe. And I walked up to him and I said, do you even know what this car is? He said, I absolutely do. I'm a Volkswagen nut. I own 6 of them. I said, you own 6 Volkswagens. Any of them ever had a starter problem? He said, oh yeah, all the time. We had to push start them constantly. I said, good, then you're qualified to help me out. He looked back at me and he said, I'm guessing you need a push start. I said, yep. He goes, I'd be more than happy to. Well, he got me pushed and on my way. I gave my buddy in the MU shirt a wave and on down the road I went. By this time, most of the people I wanted to see the car had seen the car. There's still a few people. It's a short list of people that I want to show the car to in person, but I wound up stopping by my wife's grandparents' house, Cecil and Betty, and showed the car off to them a little bit, but then I had one more stop I wanted to make. For those of you who don't know, the last year I drove this car was 1994, and 1994 was kind of a tough year for me. I lost my mom that year. And she was one of the big supporters of the car. She helped me buy it. She gave me the little bit of money I needed to bridge the gap with the cost of the car and the money that I had in the bank. And she just really loved to ride in the car. And I thought, you know, I know she can't see it. And I know she's not here anymore. But it was a good time to drop by and give her a visit.